I was lying in a ditch in Mogadishu, Somalia, with my leg nearly blown off. The battle, later known as Black Hawk Down, raged all around me. 2 American helicopters were down. Enemy fighters were everywhere and advancing on me. I'd been shot 3 times, was weak from blood loss, and almost out of ammunition.
All right, folks. Wow. Joining us now right here is Howard Wasdin, former Navy SEAL, injured in Black Hawk Down, and he has a great new book, a follow-up to his bestseller, SEAL Team 6, and this one is The Last Rescue, How Faith and Love Saved a Navy SEAL Sniper. There it is on your screen. And it is such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
You know, there's such a small amount of time compared to what I'd like to ask you about. But this book takes people right into the Somalia, right into the hard soul and meat and potatoes, if you will, of the battle that you were involved with.
That's right. What I tried to do in this book is recreate the Somalia experience, the battle, and then show how to assimilate back into a normal life, if you will, back into civilian life, and all the trials and tribulations doing that. So,
and we hear so much about, I mean, the heroics that you guys, and I want to get this, you're a Silver Star recipient, a Purple Heart recipient, but you don't want to be called a hero, and which I'll never understand. But you're a regular guy, is what you say, and getting back is the toughest part, almost, is what you're claiming, correct?
Absolutely. I'd rather be shot 3 more times than have to go through what I went through coming back to normal life.
What did you, to talk about some of the things you went through?
Sure. Well, when I first got out, I had survivor's guilt, which is a form of PTSD that I didn't even know I had.
Why did you make it out and your colleagues didn't? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Why they died? Why better men than me died, and I was allowed to live. Had survivor's guilt. I climbed into a bottle, Steve, for a couple years after I got out. You know, so depression, addiction, failed marriage, failed job. So basically, I tell everybody I went from rock star to rock bottom. So my message in this book that I want to get to everybody coming home from the military, coming back to civilian life, is your best days are ahead of you, not behind you.
And you know, those of us like me on the right, the left loves to point, I think, to the suicide figures for returning vets. And I always used to say, you know, stop bringing that up. But the numbers are so overwhelming and shocking, but you could relate to that, right?
Absolutely, more than you know. I sat in a wheelchair one time with a weapon in my hand and actually had those thoughts, which makes it even more imperative for us to help these young people. A whole generation now coming back from a war that's lasted a whole generation, and we've got to get them the help they need and, you know, get them back on the right track.
I know you're not gonna, I can almost predict your answer. You're not gonna place blame on others, but how much are we to blame in not, or those around you, or the system, or whatever? And again, I know you're not. I know you're not going to take excuses. But are we prepared for you guys coming back? Is your family prepared? Your employer, your wife? Yeah, I mean, are we not? Can we not even conceive of what you went through?
And that's exactly. That's very perceptive. You really don't know what we went through, so it's hard to help somebody coming back. Here's for example. I applied for a job at the local pulp mill when I came home doing security, and didn't get the job. And a former Marine came up to me and said, you know what, they just don't understand you. They think you've got too much killer left in you. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, I did that as a job over there. I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to put biscuits on the table and feed my family. Yeah, sure. So all any of these heroes want coming home is just to be able to come back to a society that loves and respects them and get on with their life.
We're leaving Afghanistan like we left Iraq. Mistake?
Absolutely. I mean, how many times do we have to relive the same mistake, Steve? We go in, we think we've got something fixed, it's not fixed, and we put the wrong leaders in power, or let them, you know, take over prematurely. So I think of it as like wasted blood of my fellow combatants. So it's a tragedy.
And between that and the rules of engagement, I mean, I don't know how the rules of engagement, I'll never forget, even during the first Gulf War, I mean, the Gulf War, Colin Powell said, oh, they're firing at us from a mosque, so we couldn't fire back. When I heard that, I said, if I had a son over there now, I'd go pull him home by his shirt sleeve and I'd let him throw us both in jail. How do you fight like that?
Well, it's even worse than that. For example, there's 3 Navy SEALs that lost their jobs because they captured a terrorist and the terrorist got a bloody lip. I don't know if you're familiar with
I
that
do
story.
remember that, yes.
So when you can't even abduct somebody and they get a bloody lip without you possibly going to jail, losing your retirement, losing your job, I mean, how do you combat that?
And could we win as a nation with those rules of engagement?
No, we don't have the intestinal fortitude, especially this administration does not have the intestinal fortitude to win the war on terror. And to win the war on terror, you've got to go out and fight it like you mean it, kill it or cut it off where it's at, ISIS, ISIL, whatever other idiots are out there, and be done with it.
And we're not capable of that. All right, folks, The Last Rescue by Howard Wasdin. And there it is on the screen again. Such a pleasure meeting you. Thank you. And also, the role that faith played is very important in this book. We'll come back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away.